So we're going to start. Today's webinar is soliciting and selecting a conversion proposal. We've thought about this because people sometimes do ask us, so we felt it would be very helpful. Just to start, we have these slides that are really important to the program because there are people that are constantly asking about who we are, what we are. So the New York City Clean Heat Program is basically a part of the Plan NYC, and it is focused on the air quality on the broader picture. Local Law 43, and it's, as I said, focused on public health and air quality. The purpose of this program is to eliminate the use of the heavy fuels, those being number 6 and number 4, because they do create the largest impact of emissions in the city. The number of buildings that we're working with, which originated at about 10,000 buildings, equates to all the cars and trucks on the streets of the city in a year. So it's quite a lot of emissions that are being put into the atmosphere from these buildings. As you can see from the diagrams in your slide, monitors were placed in strategic areas of the boroughs, and the winter of 2008-2009 depicts the emission levels. The dark shades are about 30% higher on average than the typical areas in the city. It was recently redone in 2012-13, and you can see a significant improvement in the air quality due to this program and those people that are actually moving forward with converting their buildings to the cleanest fuels. We talk about PM 2.5. That's the size of the particulate matter that we're looking at. New York City Clean Heat focuses on the sulfur content that exists in the oils. 2012-13, we're actually also looking at the nickel emissions, which have declined by 35%. What we're doing, what the city is doing, is improving the air quality of the city. So it's a good thing. Back in April of 2011, DEP finalized regulations that eliminate heavy oil use in 2 phases. Phase 1 was, as of July 1st, 2012, the DEP no longer approved certificates of operation for number 6 fuel oil. And as these permits were being renewed, let me back up a little bit. If your certificate expired prior to 2012, July 1st, you were able to renew for another 3 years. So by 2015, all the number 6 buildings should be on a cleaner fuel. For those buildings that opted to go to number 4, and we'll talk about that later, those buildings that opted to go to number 4 or were on number 4, they were able to continue burning until 2030 unless they needed to replace part of the heating system. At that point in time, it was mandatory that they switch to number 2 at a minimum. We're Q Mutual. Our main purpose here is to talk to buildings and facilitate the progress towards the burning of cleaner fuels. Those being ultra-low sulfur, the biodiesel blend, natural gas steam, or other alternatives. We work with folks that are installing cogeneration systems in properly sized buildings. That's all in the efforts of burning less and burning cleaner. The New York City Clean Heat is a resource for buildings. We're here. We offer these webinars, which is strictly as information. We have a hotline that people communicate with us. We have a website that people talk to us on. We're here as a staff to help guide buildings through the conversion process. The New York City Clean Heat, we work closely, as I said, with utilities, industry leaders, and we do lots of presentations at communities, functions, all in getting the message out about the program and the benefits of burning cleaner. But today's program is going to be based on another view on soliciting proposals. But before I leave, we also have a platform where we assist with financial assistance to lead buildings that need assistance to third-party companies, businesses that actually will do some lending. We work closely with nyc as well, New York City Energy Efficiency Corp. So there are ways of financing projects. Visit the website. It's very full of good information on on all aspects of emissions, best practices for buildings to follow. Just a little poll I'd like to take, because I see names, but I'd like to know who you are. If you could just take a few moments and just identify yourself by clicking on one of those buttons and hit submit, it would be great. All right. Oh, interesting. As I figured, we have a lot of trade on the line, which is great. We have a lot of board members, representatives, which is good. Some building owners just popped up. We have a lot of other not applicable. So, with that said, I'll feel comfortable speaking to everybody. Just a little joke there. All right, so this is great. Thank you. Let's carry on. We have an agenda for this one today. What we want to do is this webinar to walk you through the major steps of finding and selecting the right service professionals for your conversion project. As I said, we have had many that have asked us that question, so we felt it appropriate to do something about it. So the agenda is understanding your conversion project, resources for finding qualified professionals, soliciting proposals, selecting a service professional, and some insider tips. First and foremost, is understand your project. And we feel, and we hear, and we know that the super, along with your current maintenance company, are the best resources in understanding what condition your equipment is in. They're in it day in and day out. They're in there, frequently for maintenance and so forth. So it's understanding what needs to be done when you're thinking about a conversion. Your primary system components to consider. Your boiler. Has it reached its useful life? Does it need repair? Does it need to be replaced? Very important to understand. As well as your burner. Some burners have been changed recently, so you can pretty much count that out as far as your conversion cost. But if it has reached its useful life and has been burning number 6 for a long time, it's pretty much going to be replaced. Your fuel oil tank and containment. Very important. It needs to be up to code. And containment is very important, and your fuel oil tank is an extremely important piece of equipment in your boiler room. Now, for gas conversion, the chimney is also an important component. We're going to be touching base on some of these things as we move through the program. Some minor components that we'll be talking about briefly, but you'll be seeing in a proposal or as you talk to contractors, your side-on heater, your electrical preheater, your pumps, controls and equipment for safe operation, and of course your gas train, that's for gas use only. Again, still with understanding your project, are you unsure of what fuel you want to go to or what you need to do to convert? Start with calling us. Contact us. We have a staff here that's really up to date on a lot of things. What goes into pricing. We're constantly in touch with people that identify the pricing. We have contractors that work as partners with us, so we're constantly getting information. Our account managers discuss the benefits of all the fuels. So depending on what you want to go with, we could talk to you about it and ensure that you're well informed to make the right decision, because it's ultimately you're going to be making this decision. We don't have a vested interest in sales or for conversions. We're neutral, like I said. We're not a contractor, but we're here to offer you the right information so you can make the best decision. So we're not coming from one side. We're here for you. Choosing different fuel types can result in procuring the proposals from different types of professionals. So we want to make sure that you understand what professionals you should be looking at depending on what you feel you need to change to. So are your plans simply to convert to a cleaner fuel and do not need to replace any major system component? A simple oil-to-oil conversion could be performed by any licensed professional. And as long as they possess the qualifications and experience to complete the project in a timely and safe manner. You don't want to be caught midstream and then having to call your contractor to come back. So you want to make sure that you're doing the homework as far as obtaining qualified professionals. Those for oil-to-oil conversion could be fuel oil companies, plumbers, and/or boiler burner contractors. They can all do that kind of work. Oil-to-gas conversions require expertise in safe gas operations and the understanding of permitting, utility service requests, and timelines along with DOB requirements. With current guidelines that the utilities are asking for people to follow in order so that they can conduct their business in a timely and best practice method, it's important that your contractor understand that. So boiler burner contractors and plumbers with gas experience would be the best fit. Do you need to replace any major system components as part of your conversion to a cleaner fuel? If your boiler is in need of replacement, it would be advantageous to hire an engineer and to do a full building study to look at the envelope, look at the occupancy. Things could have changed from the time that boiler was initially placed in that building. An engineer can properly size a new boiler to match the requirements of the building envelope. An engineer is also going to be required to do a lot of work permits, but you can go right to a contractor to generate the scope of work. A qualified and licensed plumber contractor should be capable of replacing a burner. That's simple. But there are specialty contractors that need to be contacted and need to conduct their business as far as your chimney liner. Usually a contractor or an engineer will bring in a specialty contractor to just look at that aspect of the project. Similarly, if you're working and you're planning on keeping your tank, a specialty contractor can come in and do the work required on that tank as far as the cleaning and the testing. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later because that's a real important aspect of your conversion process. Are you interested in understanding the end use of your building? Some buildings need to follow Local Law 84. Hire the right professionals to do that. Generally, engineering companies and your certified energy managers, CEM, can conduct those kinds of studies. Similarly, with the Local Law 87, look for those professionals that can advise on both your fuel conversion and Local Law 87 so that you're working both of those projects hand in hand. Because basically one will encompass the other. Similarly, again, engineers and certified energy managers can conduct those. Professionals associated with incentive programs. It's important to have a company that understands the incentive programs through NYSERDA and the utilities when you're actually looking at Local Law 87. It would be nice to be able to get some funds back when you install those energy efficiency measures. Resources for finding qualified professionals. In the New York City Clean Heat, those links there, and this webinar will be posted on our site. The top link there will bring you to entities recognized by the New York City Department of Buildings and boiler burner installers and licensed to do work in New York City. The second link there is our ULS2. Now, ULS, ultra-low sulfur 2. Ultra-low sulfur is the new terminology for the new number 2 due to the refinement process, bringing it from 1,500 parts per million down to 15. Very clean. Anyway, so we have ULS2 conversion specialists on our website that can walk you through a conversion and oil-to-oil conversion. And they also offer incentives to convert, as well as the site, 3-site study. NYSERDA is another entity that would offer contractors that could do work for you. Again, that link will direct you to a page that identifies both the commercial and the multifamily buildings. You have your FlexTech consultants, and there's a PDF download with each participating consultant. If you're multifamily building, there's a link there which will tie you into a small group of contractors, and just follow the prompts to find a list of the contractors for your building size, by size. Take the time. It was really easy. I did it. That was good. Now we'll talk about soliciting the proposals. Good practice, contact 3 to 5 professionals of the type you need and invite them to a walkthrough through the building and the boiler room. And all potential service professionals should be present during the walkthrough. This ensures accuracy and communication when details are being explained. You should really only have to do this once. You shouldn't be entertaining one contractor one day, a week later another contractor, or vice versa. You should be doing it once, and that's important because let me just take one step back. If, in fact, you should call to confirm the attendance, and if you find that maybe one or two would be able to make that, you should reschedule. If less than 3 arrive, please ensure that you're taking good notes that you could share with that party that needs to catch up, we'll say. To ensure accuracy, questions and responses that are discussed at the walkthrough should be documented by everybody. And the return proposal should include all aspects of the walkthrough, so that the dollar amounts in proposals are based on the same scope of work, rendering an apples-to-apples comparison. Which brings us to the components of your proposal and the next area, which is important. So the components of your proposal generally consist of your terms and conditions along with payment schedule, scope of work, whether it be the gas or fuel oil, associated breakout of pricing for each part of the project. And this is important because it offers the best means of matching and understanding your proposal. Timeline of said project, such as date of mobilization and approximate time of completion. You're going to want to know when a contractor is going to be able to come and do the job you need done, especially if you're burning number 6 and the certificate of operation is going to expire. You want to make sure that you're doing everything in accordance with regulations. Scopes of work should be compared to identify any work that has been omitted or additional work that has been included. If the addition of the project seems necessary, a revised price quote should be requested from all other bidders who may have left the items out. Inversely, if the necessary item was omitted, that entity should be contacted so that they have the opportunity to revise the scope of work and project cost. Follow-up questions are appropriate to understanding any major discrepancies in work scope. And any large discrepancies in prices should be investigated. You really shouldn't just discount the high price and then aim at the low price or the middle price. There's something that generated that high price that it would be worth knowing. Some insider tips, things that we hear about and we like to talk about. The minor system components. All conversions up in number 6 will involve the removal of a sidearm heater. You don't need it for 4 or 2, but this, in doing so, creates an operational cost savings because fuel is not required to keep the fuel at near 100 degrees in the tank. We did a webinar November 20th specifically on this. So if anybody's interested on that, let us know through nyc.gov. We'd love to share it with you, talk to you about it. But anyway, there are operational savings alone with just getting off the 6 in that aspect. Switching to ULS2, as I said, ultra-low sulfur 2 or natural gas, would involve the removal of both the sidearm heater and the electrical preheater. The electrical preheater is required for the heavy fuels. It's an electrical component that, based on good engineering assumptions, averages, because it's not an exact number, averages about $6,000 a year in savings. So that's quite a sum of money when you're thinking about a conversion from 6 to 4, that you still have that preheater that's still costing you money. All pumps should be checked in case they have reached their end of useful life. New controls and equipment may be required for safe operations, such as explosion-proof fixtures. When you're working your fuel oil tank, your containment area is going to have to be brought up to code. So items like that will be introduced into your project if you haven't done that already. Chimneys, just quickly on the chimneys. Typical construction in the city are 3 types. It's a red brick and mortar, terracotta line, and fire brick. If you have a red brick and mortar, your lining is going to be required. And simply put, what happens, and this is really for gas conversions only, simply put, what happens is gas burns cooler and has more water content in it. The flue gases create a sulfuric acid and acid which eats away at the mortar. And the mortar starts to break away, allows flue gases to weep into the structure. It's a safety issue. If you have a terracotta lined chimney, inspect the defect. If it's in sound condition, you don't have to do anything with it. Same with fire brick. Inspect the defects, and certification is required that it actually is an acid-resistant brick. So those are very important. And the certifications are for the DOB. Just a little talk about your fuel tank. Your fuel tank must always be in compliance with New York City DOB regulations. If not, you intend to keep it, you need to work to bring it up to compliance along with the room it's placed in. And your contractor can perform the required work such as containment and having it on saddles to keep it off grade. There's a lot of pieces to your tank and your containment area that are very important. We have ULS2 specialists in our program that can help you save money on this type of work. Once cleaned, it must be tested in accordance with the DEP requirements. If the testing fails, you have 2 hours in which to report with a plan of remedial action to the DEP. And before replacing the tank, ask yourself, can it be replaced? Can it be repaired? Bring in some specialists that can look at the tank and determine whether or not it could be lined, it could be patched. A tank could be repaired instead of just automatically looking at the cost to replace it. Specialty companies exist that focus on fuel oil tank repair and containment. I said earlier that tank needs to be tested. Now, if people are thinking about converting from 6 to 4, there are no regulations that state testing is required, but testing is required if you're going from 6 to 2. However, this is really, really important. If you're not going to test your tank and you're going to put new product in there at a lighter grade, such as 4 from 6, if porosity exists, it can develop into a leak because of the less viscous fuel that's going into it. Money saved in testing can cost you more in fines and cleanup. I just got wind of a building that didn't test the tank, converted from 6 to 4, and now are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in remediation and repairs due to the fact that they went from 6 to 4, it wasn't tested, and it leaked. A simple analogy I was thinking about today is that if you live in the mountains of Vermont, you'll spend a few extra $1,000s to get an all-wheel drive vehicle for safety and peace of mind. So why sacrifice a few $1,000s in your building when something drastic can happen? Again, this is information for you to think about as we move through the process. That's the web.